YakChat simply adds SMS into Microsoft 365, including Microsoft Teams. In this video, I'm going to go through the application, the YakChat application that's within Teams, and in a second video, I'll be going through the bot and how the bot operates. You will see notifications from the bot in this video, but I'll go through that in a separate one. So once you've installed YakChat into Teams, which again, there's a separate video to show you how to do that, you'll receive an application icon within the three dots within Teams. Simply click on the icon, and now you'll be able to see the icon on the left hand side, and you can now pin this to Teams and be able to move it to wherever you want it to be within the Teams sidebar. When you're using YakChat for the first time, you won't have any messages or any contacts within the database. I've already got contacts in here, but I cleared out my messages. So you'll just see this is where the conversations will sit. In this main window is where the messages within that conversation will be shown, and on the right hand window it will show the contacts that you have included in the messaging, and there's also a translation option which allows any messages to be translated if that is turned on. So the first thing is to set up your contacts. Now in the contacts there are several sources of contacts. The first one is the YakChat contact store itself, and here you'll see a number of contacts within the YakChat store. But you also have a direct connection into Office 365. So you can get your contacts from your Outlook contacts. So this is the Outlook contacts related to the user. So you can have Outlook groups. So this is where you have an Office 365 group, and you'll have employees that are part of those groups, and you can text each one of those, all of those employees contained in an Office 365 group. You've also got the Active Directory, which enables you to see all of your employees that you have in the company. And again, simply click on one of those contacts and right click and send a message. And each one of those contacts within Active Directory does need to have the mobile phone number added to their details within Azure Active Directory. And finally, you can also link into SharePoint and get the SharePoint contacts out of the contact list within the site that the user is a member of. And finally, you can group YakChat contacts into lists so that you can send a message to a whole list by simply clicking on the list name. So if I select the contacts, the YakChat contacts, and here I'm going to look for Charles. So simply use the search bar to look for your contacts. I'm going to look for Charles. Click on Charles and then right click, and I'll be able to send a message. Just before I do that though, so what I'm going to do is show you how you can select multiple contacts to send a message to. So you don't have to have an Office 365 group or a list to be able to send it to a message to multiple contacts. You can simply just select the contacts by dragging your mouse over the contacts or pressing the control key. And when you press the control key, you can now select multiple contacts in this way. And again, just hover over one of those contacts, right click and send a message. With my setup, I have two numbers assigned to me. One is my own number, and the second is a team number. So I'm a member of a team and can send messages and see messages for the team, just like a shared email box, or I can have my own private messaging using my own number. In each case, there is a dedicated number for me and a dedicated number for the team. So I'll go back to Charles, and I'm going to send a message to Charles. Simply right click and send a message, and this is coming from my number. And now you'll see that the windows come up to be able to send a message, and to send one it is simply just type Charles. Now I can either press return or click on the send key here. When I click on the send key, the message appears in the message window, and you'll see that the tick here shows that it's been sent, and then the double tick shows the message has been delivered. If I move over to my phone, I'm going to now send a message back. Hi there, David. And this message will appear within this message window, and you'll get an audible alarm that a new message has been received. You'll see here, this is the notification bot that's sitting in the background, and that provides you a notification that you have a new message. So I'll go through that in a separate video. In this pull down here, you've got three areas. If you have the team inbox enabled as well as your own inbox, you'll get two inboxes, and you'll also have an archive. But most people have just either their own inbox or a team inbox. Now, it's very simple to archive a message, so to keep this area clean, so you haven't got too many messages in this area, you simply right click and then archive. And what happens then is the message then sits within this archive. Now, when a message is in the archive, you don't have to worry that the conversation has to be in the foreground all the time, because if I now send another message from Charles, I'm going to send it again. The message, even though it's in the archive, will reappear in the main inbox when it is received. So when we get a message, you'll see the new message come in, and more importantly, you'll see that it's Charles that a message has been received from. And when I click on there, you'll then see the conversation and the messages related to Charles. You'll see on the right hand side that you've got one contact in this message. Now, if I go to the contacts again, and this time I'm going to select a number of different contacts. Let's just be careful what I select. Make sure I've got numbers, and I'm going to select to send a message. So I've selected 3 contacts in this conversation. So here you'll see the 3 different contacts that I've got selected. When I send a message, those contacts will only see my number. They won't see the number of the other contacts that I'm sending a message to. So from their point of view, they're just receiving one message from me. If any of them do reply, in fact, no, I can't. If any one of them do reply, that will then create a new conversation, and so that's a private conversation in the left hand side here, and you can then continue that conversation, and that creates a private conversation so that there's no mistaking that you are only conversing with that person rather than having a group type conversation, which is YakChat doesn't support the group conversations at this point in time. Everything is on a one-on-one basis. So one other thing is in the mailbox here, you can see that I've got 2 messages. In fact, those 2 messages are actually in the team inbox. So if I click on the conversation which has those 2 new messages, then obviously this clears down the open messages. If I am somewhere else now, so if I go back to Teams and I'm going to send another message, and I'm just going to say hi David again 2. What will happen now, again, you'll get a notification from the bot to say that you've got a new message. You'll be able to go to the bot and be able to, by just clicking on the new message. If you do that, you'll just go to the bot here, and as I say, I'll talk to you about that. But if you go back to the app, you now know you've got a new message, so you can go to the app and then be able to see the fact that you've got a new message within the application with a notification here showing one new message from Charles, and again you have a notification up here saying from Charles. Now, if you're in the team inbox, there's a couple of other things that you should know. So the first thing is that you can right-click on the conversation to make yourself or someone else a primary owner. So I could make myself the primary owner. When I do that, it then means that I get a yellow dot. So anything where I get a yellow dot is a message from me. If it is a blue dot, like you saw previously, if it's a blue dot, then that means it's a message in the team inbox that it's either owned by someone else or is a new message. If you do get a text from a number that is not in your contact store or in Outlook or in Active Directory, it will simply be shown as a number within this contact. So if you do get that, you can simply just copy that number using the normal Control-C in the keyboard, and then you can create a new contact to be able to add that contact. And once you've done that, so if I do that for you now, so I'll create a new contact here. So here's a new contact, and I can add the person's details. So we call and I can add in the telephone number here, and I could add their email, and the last part of this is the group email. So if I was wanting to show this contact to the group, so I've got a shared team inbox, I can have anybody that's part of that shared inbox, again just like a shared email, but they will then be able to see the contact as well. So in here you've got Charles, who is a shared contact, and that's shared with the whole team. But in this instance I don't want to do that. I'm going to save this contact. But whilst I'm here, so you'll see here at the top, when I'm creating a new contact, there are a couple of other tabs. So one is You can paste a list of numbers in here to be able to send a text to a list of numbers if you have that available to you. Or in here you have the ability to import numbers into the database. And to do that, you just click on this download here, which then downloads a template for you to fill in. And once you've filled in that template with all your contacts, you simply choose the file and then import those contacts using this button here. And you can import up to 100 contacts within the contact database within YakChat. So now when I go back to the messages and I go back to the team inbox, you'll see that Anne has now been, so that number that was there has now been replaced by Anne Tarbug, which is the contact that I just added to the database. Right, I think that's about the only additional piece when you do come into the application for the first time, to limit the number of admin consent or the admin consent requirements of the application. We've made it so you can turn, all of these will be turned off. Now when you turn one of these on, it will ask you for admin consent, which will mean that you need someone to provide your organization, which will be your team's administrator, will need to provide you with the admin consent for the organization to be able to read your Outlook contacts, to read your Active Directory, and potentially to read SharePoint contacts. If you don't have any of these set on, then you can just save that. And when you do that, then when you go to the contacts, then now you'll only be able to see the YakChat contact store rather than all the others. So that's in the settings. So just go to settings, and I'm going to set mine back on now. Save, and now within the contacts you'll be able to see each of the different contact sources, such as the Outlook and the Office 365 groups and the Active Directory. I think that's about it for the application, so thank you very much for listening to this demonstration. If you need anything further, then please just contact us on info@yakchat.com, and you'll be able to get hold of one of our support guys on that number, on that email address. You can also call us on country code 1-425-385-0385 for more information. We'll be delighted to talk to you, and we can also provide you with an online webinar or training session if you feel that will be useful for you. With that, thank you very much, and please look at my other video, which is describing how the bot works.